Last night, Carolina Panthers quarterback Haynes King stepped onto an NFL field for the very first time and made it a debut to remember. King threw for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns before leading the Panthers down the field in the final minutes and running in the game-winning touchdown as time expired. It was a remarkable beginning to the next chapter of a football journey that has already taken him from a Texas State championship to Texas A&M to a standout career at Georgia Tech and now the NFL. And long before that moment under the lights, Haynes had learned that the path to success rarely unfolds exactly as planned. In his conversation with me, he opens up about the setbacks that changed his path, the preparation that built his confidence, and the faith, family, and perspective that have kept him grounded through both adversity and success. Because for Haynes, it's never been only about what happens on the field. It's about how you respond to what happens next. Tell us a bit, for people who might not know you, who Haynes King is today and now as a Carolina Panther.
Where do I start? My life, it's definitely been a journey. But, I grew up pretty much 2-parent household, both coaches. So they were hard on me. I couldn't get away with anything growing up, But for the most part, just somebody who loves competing, loves sports, and just tries to give it his all. And then, as well as, God loving and family as well.
That's beautiful. Was football always your favorite?
Yes, deep down that was my number one. But growing up, I played 5 sports: football, basketball, baseball, soccer, and ran track. And then got to high school, I chose 3. It was football, basketball, and track. But football was kind of the main one for sure.
Mm-hmm. And did you quarterback that entire time?
I started out as a running back because Longview was this old school, getting the eye, run power, and all that stuff. So, I wanted the ball. But, I was in Little League. We were first year of full pads, and, the 2 quarterbacks got hurt. And the coaches talked to me and was like, wanted me to play quarterback for this game or whatever, and ended up playing pretty good. And I've been quarterback ever since.
Wow. What was it that you think got the notice from D1 schools? What was it in you? What was your special sauce?
Yeah. I would say, 1, being a coach's kid, so you already kind of have a high IQ of football. So that's 1. And then 2, just being able to operate. And then the offense that we played in, like I was saying, it was old school. I can operate under the center, I could get in the gun, and I was still pretty athletic as well. So that caught the eyes of a lot of coaches, with being able to operate still under center, different kinds of offenses, and just still playing my game and being able to relate to a lot of people in the locker room as well.
For you, Haynes, when did football turn from something you loved to something you knew you needed to pursue to the highest level?
I'd probably say when I started getting the Division I offers. I always loved it, but when you start getting like a Division I offer to play at a Power 4 school or any school in the collegiate level, you start thinking like, okay, now if I want to make this my job, I have to pursue this at a high level. And that's kind of when you take that next step in trying to develop your game and training more. But obviously, like I was saying, it was always my first love. So I always trained. I was, making 4-wheeler tires, wrapping it around poles and stuff, trying to throw it in between the tire and using the trampoline as like a deep ball, like throwing in just little tricks like that. But when I started to get offers is when it even increased.
Okay. And you're from East Texas. So, I mean, we know Texas football is big time.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
where was that first stop for you in collegiate football?
My first, out of high school, I went to Texas A&M. It was a great place. Ended up graduating from there. Got a business degree. Was there for 3
Congratulations.
years. Thank you. Was there for 3 years. And, I wouldn't change it for the world. I learned a lot about life and a lot about football as well. And, I chose that, one, because of the football, two, the education, and three was the life after football. And I felt like that was the best place for me. And, to this day, I still feel like that was a great choice for me.
Sounds like it. And what did football success, or maybe just success in general, look like to you back then? Was there an image you had of what that would be for you?
I always had a little bit of an idea, but I never really looked too far into, like, what this would look like, what that would look like, because I tried for the longest just to try to be where my feet are, you know, stay in touch with the present moment. And as long as you do that, that's when you're handling what's going on now, as to, being distracted by what could be or what already happened. So as long as you're staying in the
Did
moment,
you always
everything's
have
going to be
that?
good.
Did somebody teach you that? Did you always kind of have that ability to be present in each moment?
I think so.
It's quite a thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and it's hard for sure too, because I mean, there's a lot of distractions, especially, whether you're going to the playing in a collegiate level or even now at the professional level. There's a lot of distractions. So to be able to do that, that's kind of another deal with, I guess you'd say, what can separate people from playing a handful of years to playing a long career, like 8, 9, 10 years. But I think that I always had it, but I mean, who knows? Who truly knows?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's what I like to
And
think that I am. Go
with
ahead.
distraction comes enormous pressure. I
Uh,
just, I would watch you at Georgia Tech, and we'll let everyone know that when you left Texas A&M, you did end up going to Georgia Tech, correct?
yes,
Was there
yes,
a
I did.
stop in between? Yeah, okay. And I mean, you just were able to execute under incredible pressure. And I think it's one of the things that is a mark of a great quarterback is when we all are watching and you feel a sense of, we feel confident in you. We feel a sense of calm because we know you're going to get it done. And you have that. You have that. What does it feel like though, to be playing quarterback for a big school? You guys had a tremendous season, and that pressure that's on you to make it happen. And I know you have a whole team that you're working with because you're a team player, and we all know that about you too. But I feel like there's even extra pressure on you as the quarterback of this team. What does that feel like?
I mean, it's a lot for sure, but with, great expectation comes a lot of pressure. And what makes it easier is when you have a great locker room, when you have a lot of friends, when you're playing for something that's bigger than yourself. It makes everything easier, whether, you're doing extra work and it's like, okay, this is hard. These are long hours, but I want to do this not only for me, but for my team as well, or for my family, for my friends. When you're doing stuff that it's for a greater purpose, it makes it easier. And I mean, that also goes through, playing through injuries and stuff like that. You want to see, people around you succeed, and that'll only help you in the long run as well.
Right. And you know something about injury. Let's go back to your redshirt freshman year and talk about what happened to you that really could have changed the course, or maybe did change the course and ultimately for the better. Tell us what happened that year.
Yeah, this was pretty much the first year starting at A&M, and ended up breaking my ankle second game, second drive of the game. And it was definitely a big change. I wasn't expecting it, and for the game that I love, just to be taken away, snapping fingers, it's pretty crazy. But that also opens your eyes. It opens your eyes to new opportunities. It opens your eyes to and lets you see from a different perspective of, how you could improve your game, how you could help the team from different angles, different ways, and not only just personal, but like I was saying earlier, like if you're playing for a bigger purpose, now I'm helping the next guy, or I'm helping the coaches, like what I see. I'm trying to communicate on the sideline, or I'm trying to, like I
Hmm.
was, like you were saying earlier, with the amount of pressure, I'm talking to people on, how what my experiences were with that, and what helps, and like, just try to get them through stuff like that, or how I prepare, and just the communication aspect of it. Like I said, it just opens your eyes to different perspectives, and how you can still better your game, but also better the team.
On that second drive of that second game, what happened? What was the scenario that broke your ankle? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, it was regular play. Obviously, me, I was running the football, of course. Uh, you know, defense, I think it was DN. He grabs me, slings me, and I try to land, and my ankle kind of rolls and pops, and you know, ends up hobbling off the field and getting the X-ray, and everything kind of went quiet, and I'm like, oh no. That's kind of when I knew like something was really up. But that's what happened, and I'll never forget that feeling for sure.
What was recovery like? Did you have to have surgery, or was it something that could kind of heal on its own?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it could have healed on its own, but I chose the surgery route. I put, 3 screws in there, and it was a long road for sure, because for a while I couldn't. There was no weight, non-weight bearing. So I was riding around in a little scooter. They were giving me hell, but
Yeah.
I was riding the class, riding the treatment and stuff like that. But
And that's hard around a big campus, you know?
no doubt, no doubt, because I
uh,
mean, class there, I'd have 20-minute walk at least. Like it's a big campus, it's spread out.
Goodness.
But like I said, I wouldn't change it for the world, because I learned a lot through that process, and I met a lot of great people that I'm still in touch with to this day, that helped me out through there, and that I saw every day, and we kind of just helped each other, and
wow.
it was
That's an
just one of those
incredible,
deals.
it's incredible perspective you have. And I think that
Yeah,
our listeners are going to really resonate with what you're saying, because we all have a story. We all have something that we've been through. And I find that from everyone that we interview, there is that looking back and saying, I wouldn't change it for the world, even though it was probably at the time one of the hardest things you've gone through. I wanted to know what was it that you were wrestling with in your mind in those early days with the broken ankle?
really just, am I going to be able to walk and run again like that, like I used to? Because I mean, I was pretty athletic person, still am,
Yeah, very
not was
fast.
anymore, but
Yeah. So, was there a specific moment where you realized I'm going to come back from this?
yeah, when we started, you know, get more weight bearing, start moving, start jogging, and getting into the running aspect of it, I was like, I'll be fine. I'll just be fine. And my idea of it through this process was, I'm gonna try to work every muscle that I can. So when my bone finally heals, I'm not trying to catch up, because a lot of people that break stuff, obviously it's different if you have a cast, because you can't really do anything. But I didn't have a cast on, so I was trying to do as much work as I can, whether it's the calf, the Achilles, the hamstrings, quads, all that stuff, trying to work those as much as possible. So, when the ankle does heal, um, I'll be ready to go, and I won't have to try to catch anything up, or this leg's weaker than the other.
Mm.
But it got to a point where, I was hitting it every day, a lot of BFR. I don't know if you know what that is,
Mm-mm.
but there's blood flow restriction, and it pretty much just kind of squeezes your leg, restricts that, and it's easier, I guess, on your joints and legs to give max effort. And I don't know, it's the whole scientific aspect of it is pretty complex, but it helped a lot through the process, and especially not being weight bearing on it. But I did that a lot, and at one point the leg that was broken was stronger than the non-leg, and they
Hmm.
were like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to chill on this for a little bit." I was
Gotta
like,
get the
"Well,
other leg
w-
going.
yeah." I was like, "Well, instead of just not doing anything for a week, can we just do like double VFR, like both legs and work both legs out?" And it was like, "All right." So we just kept going, and
All right, let's go.
like I said,
Let's go. What did that injury teach you that winning and success never could?
you learn a lot about yourself when adversity hits, you know, how you're going to respond. Are you just going to put your head down, like, hey, this is the event. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to keep working, and find a way. Or am I just going to play the old poor, pitiful me? I'm not doing good right now. Uh, but it really just goes back to the response. And, the cool thing about that, like I said, I wouldn't change anything for the world, is because it kind of led me to Georgia Tech as well with the guys that are there. And, I still wear the wristband that we got there. Says E plus R equals O, event plus response equals outcome. You got to own your response. So that kind of puts everything into a simpler form for the words. But I just learned a lot about myself, about what response I'm going to take to whether it's adversity or success.
Who were some of the people that carried you through that season? You mentioned that if you hadn't had the injury, you would not have met some of the people who really showed up for you. I'm guessing Coach Key was one of those people who was instrumental in um, welcoming you very fully back into the game when you were ready to, recover from that, or had you recovered even before you got to Georgia Tech with your ankle?
Yeah, I had already recovered, but
Hmm.
I mean, I also, experienced a minor injury at Georgia. I wouldn't say it's too minor, but an injury at Georgia Tech as well, and almost the same thing. Uh, you know, got close to a couple of people that I probably wouldn't have because of, the time spent, and also just kind of learning and how you can affect other people, and it's just different. Even I learned a lot from, like I said, sitting on the sidelines from at A&M and even at Georgia Tech. Like, I learned a lot of different lessons, a lot of different pains, and just it's crazy how similar but different they were, and
Hmm.
how much you learn from it. But at A&M, like, obviously, the trainers, the PTs, um, mostly the one guy that I still keep in touch with was is Lewis. He's, he'll hit me up every now and then. We'll catch up. But he did a really good job of helping me communicating with everything going on. And also with Jimbo, because he allowed me to stay in meetings. He allowed me to stay involved with
Hmm.
everything that was going on. So that helped more than anything, because a lot of guys try to separate from the game, and it's like, oh, I don't need to do this, I don't need to stay involved. But like I said, I was trying to find ways to stay involved to help the team with whatever was going on. So, there was a lot of people that helped me through that process. And then,
Hmm.
like I said, at Georgia Tech, I had a really good relationship with Coach Key, Coach Winky, and then um, with Mike, the PT guy. I was working with him every day, and we to this day stay in contact as well, with catching up and
I
seeing
think
how everything's going.
think it's interesting how you were talking about getting that leg really strong, when you had the first big injury. But it
Mhm.
sounds like you staying around the game, staying involved, even with the injury. You had mentioned, I want to keep that leg strong so I don't fall behind when I'm ready to go when that ankle injury is healed. And it sounds like your decision to stay mentally in the game and just stay in presence, coming back to presence, that too would keep you from falling behind in a certain way. Can you speak to that?
Yes, for sure. And a lot of this is mental as well. Because, if you're staying involved mentally, then emotionally you're the same place. You can stay more happy because you still kind of feel a part of the team. That and that's probably the biggest transition that goes on when you experience injuries, big time injuries and stuff like that, where you have to miss some time, is just staying involved and feeling like you're still a part of the team. Like, yeah, you're not being able to play on Saturdays or Sundays or whenever you play, but to stay involved and still feel like you're connected with the team and a part of the team is a big it's a big just kind of boost to get you through and over the hump and getting back.
Yeah, definitely a bonus for sure. When you went back to your first game after that ankle break, emotionally, what is that like? I mean, is there fear, excitement, trepidation? What's going through? You just got yourself all the way back to be able to start, in a big game. That's got to be a moment.
Yes, it was for sure. But I kind of, after that season, we ended up having to cancel our bowl game because COVID. So I pretty much it was a whole year before I got to play again, and it was a lot of excitement
Uh,
though going through, emotionally, because it's like, I finally get to be back out here again. It's pretty much been a whole entire year since I played a real game, and it was a lot of emotions, but also it was a fun experience too because it was back home at Texas A&M.
mm. You just touched on something major for everyone in the world. But you really came along through collegiate football with COVID. And we got to talk about that because here you are finally back. Now everything shuts down. That had to be devastating.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. You know, first semester was regular. It was just like any old regular college, and then we're about to leave for spring break, and we leave and they're like, don't come back. And we don't come back till, I don't know, like late June. And from there on, it was just kind of new stuff happening every day. And I mean, even in college football right now, there's new stuff, a lot of changes, whether it's,
Yeah.
NIL or
The
transfer
portal.
portal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and it's just crazy how much has changed over my tenure when I was a college football player.
Hmm. What is the difference, in your opinion, between confidence and belief? And which one do you think carries you through?
Um,
Or I'm sure it's a combination of both
Yeah,
through the
for sure.
toughest
And
moments.
I would think it's a little bit of combination of both, but for the most part, how I get like my confidence, or like you would say belief or anything like that, it's through hard work, through stuff that I've done. It's like, okay, I've worked my butt off just for this. Like I've done this before. I've made this throw before, or I've trained hard pulling the sleds. Like I'm about to have to, it's 4th and 1 this past year, like stick my nose in there and try to get a yard or try to get in the end zone. It's like I've worked myself so hard in the off season that it's like I'm out here and it's just having fun at this point, and it's like that's where I kind of gain my confidence from doing and knowing like,
Mhm.
okay, I've done this before. I can do it again. Just kind of same thing with the weight room. Like when you're trying something new, obviously, you have adrenaline doing all that stuff, but when you've done it before in the weight room, it's like, okay, I've power cleaned this much weight or I've squatted this much weight. Like I kind of know what this feels like. So it's like, okay, I have confidence. Like I'm gonna hit this again. So it's kind of that's how I'm wired and how I gain confidence and belief.
Mhm. Mhm. You if anyone were to describe you and after watching you and watching you week after week, You have a toughness that's unbelievable. I mean, it's a physical toughness, it's a mental toughness, an emotional toughness. Where does that toughness come from?
I'd say my parents. Can't say one without the other for sure because they both raised me, and it also takes a village to raise one. And I take it back all the way to Longview, just the community itself, and growing up, playing all the little league sports and all that, I learned a lot from all the different situations that I was put in. Whether it's football, basketball, baseball, soccer, like it was a lot. And like mentally, you can handle a lot, especially coming from Longview. Like there's just a lot.
Hmm.
But I, for the most part, I'd say parents and how they raised me. And there was at one point that my dad thought I wasn't going to be tough enough to play for Longview. So that was pretty funny to kind of see it go full circle. But it's
Yeah.
I put it in their hands for sure, and how they raised me and coached me, and kind of what their standard was, and how we need to play, and all they really cared about was effort and attitude. And that's what I try to go in every game trying to do and make them proud.
And that's really all you can control, right? Is
Yep.
attitude and effort every day, every practice, every game. One of the things you touched on, one of your teammates at Georgia Tech is my son, JT Byrne. And, he was a three-sport athlete too in high school. And he used to say to me, he goes, Mom, I have really learned by being a three-sport athlete how to compete all year long in different ways, how to win in different ways. Do you resonate with that? Do you feel like that was a huge thing? Because there's so many parents out there that are wanting their kids to specialize at a young age. What would you say to a parent who doesn't want their kid to play three sports in high school?
Yeah, I would say play as many sports as you can for as long as you can. Uh, I mean, it's just one of those deals where, like you were saying, the different scenarios that you get put in, like baseball, like if you're batting, a great hitter hits three balls out of 10. Like there's a lot of
Right.
struggle that goes into baseball, so you're gonna have to deal with that,
It's a
adapt
game
with
of
it,
misses,
and
right?
no doubt, no doubt. But it's different. And basketball, soccer, you have to almost play the game of sharing. Like you have to be able to pass the ball and also defend, and be able to score as well. Um, it's a lot of different situations, scenarios, and then also, like, on top of that, just the motor skills. Even as a kid, like, to develop motor skills, hand-eye coordination, foot-eye coordination, anything like that. Like, the more you do, the better. And you start seeing stuff like overlap into other sports and making you better. Like, sometimes football players,
Huh.
if you have a little bit of football background or anything like that, that is a collision sport or contact sport, and you go play like basketball, your rebounding is probably going to get better because you understand leverage angles, and boxing out people, and you're not afraid of contact. Now you can finish at the rim, stuff like that. Or playing receiver, DB in football, but you have like a baseball background. Now you can judge the ball in the air, and it just, there's a lot of stuff that can carry over and
Interesting.
help your game out.
And not to mention dealing with so many different coaches, different teammates, learning those skills about how to be a good teammate. What to you makes a great teammate?
Somebody who's gonna come in there, compete each and every day. Somebody who's real, genuine. When you start to develop relationships with other people. Um, and I feel like that was a big thing in what made our locker room so good at this past year at Georgia Tech. We had a lot of guys that knew how to compete, knew how to go about their business each and every day. And then we also had real, genuine people that want to develop relationships. Like, we hung out outside of the facility, whether it was going to baseball games or golfing or bowling, like any events like that. It was just
Barbecue, yeah.
barbecue, yeah, all of it. We were always hanging out together, and it was just real, genuine people.
and teaching one of your teammates how to deal with crawdads and
All of
I've seen the videos. your little
it.
California friend.
Yeah.
I, what I think JT would also echo so much of this. He said that Georgia Tech team, Coach Key, under that leadership, you and Coach Key had a particularly close relationship. What do you think that relationship did to propel you forward to have such a stellar season with Georgia Tech?
It did. It helped us a lot, and it not only just me, but also Coach Key as well. Because when you get put in these situations, whether you're a head coach, offense coordinator, quarterback, or anything like a high level situation, you have a lot of pressure put on you. And when you could sometimes just talk to somebody who's in the same situation, like sometimes you just it just eases your mind, eases all the emotional stuff that men usually just keep to themselves, and it just keeps building and building until
Yeah.
something happens. But for me to have that relationship and to go in there and just whenever I want, just knock on his door and go in there and talk and have a conversation. Like half the time, it wasn't even just about football. It was about, how life was going in generally, family
Mm.
life, what's going on. Uh, but it was so relaxing and comforting just to have that relationship.
Yeah. And that I could understand that um, developing that relationship on and off the field would have to give you that would help build confidence, or that knowing that someone had that, you have like a rhythm with someone. You have that trust and you're building that trust. Trust is hugely important. I know when you're a team member, a team builder, and you're a leader on that team. So um that takes me to my next question about what has been the biggest adjustment, because let's say, your redshirt freshman year, you have a severe ankle injury and you recover from that. You have another injury at Georgia Tech. In between there, it's COVID. And was there a time that you really did think, I don't know if the dream of going on beyond college is even possible? Did you have some doubts at times about that?
I never really had doubts. I always kind of believed in, that I could play at the next level, especially as a quarterback. And I really just kind of, when I decided to leave A&M, I just kind of felt like I needed somebody to believe in me. And like you were saying, that trust aspect, it kind of gains, gives you more confidence. And Georgia Tech was one of the few that believed in me. Coach Winky and Coach Key and Coach Faulkner, they through that process were talking to me, and I felt like all three of them were pretty much wired the same way, wanted good things to happen and do it the right way. And I was like, yeah, these are the people that I want to surround myself with. And
And
that's kind of what
fit
happened.
is everything, isn't it? Yeah,
Yes,
finding that right fit. Let's first of all, congratulations. You are now a
thank
Carolina
you.
Panther. Tell me about what has been the biggest adjustment moving from college football to the NFL?
Yeah, it's definitely a big adjustment, especially when kind of don't know what's going on. You're just kind of doing things on the fly and going off what people tell you. But I'd say for the most part, it's like the biggest adjustment is pretty much coming from being like big dog, like one of the oldest guys on the team, to now you're the rook. You're pretty much a freshman all over again. You got to prove yourself once again. Nobody really knows who you are. You got to make your name for yourself again. And, a lot of this kind of that first impression goes a long way. And how you go about your
Mm.
business, how you come into the job each and every day. Are you there on time? Are you there early? Do you come in last minute? Do you seem organized? Do you think you have your stuff together? That stuff just goes a long ways as well.
How do you manage And I can't even. I'm trying. I'm just taking that in and trying to imagine. You have this very established role at Georgia Tech. You are the man. You're the quarterback. You're the leader of this team. And then what is it like to come in, like you say, as sort of the rookie again, all over again? You've been there before. You know how to do this. You've got the skill set to know how to work your way back up. Um, but it must be hard to not have a really defined role. Is
Yes,
that
for sure.
challenging? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a big challenge because, like you say, coming from being the big fish to now, nobody really knows who you are. You just try to find each and every way that you can, one, make the team, and two, help the team. Like whatever it is, you have to be in that mindset that you'll do. Um, and then, number two is pretty much just come in each and every day, put your head down and work, and let your actions kind of take over. And it's like, okay, this guy is going to come in and work every day. And then
Hmm.
when you start making plays on the field, then they start looking like, hey, who's this guy? You know, who is whatever your
Hmm.
number is,
Hmm.
like, then you start catching on, then people start talking, and that's kind of how you work your way back up.
And people, I know a lot of people don't know this, that, they start with, I think, 90, right? 90 on the roster. And then by
Yeah, it's
August,
just about,
that's whittled to about 52. Am I correct on that?
I think it's 53, 52 or 53, 53 man
52 or
roster, I
53.
think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what, so it's the showing up, it's doing all the things too that maybe talent doesn't even have to do with. And you have tremendous talent. So making sure you're checking all those boxes. And I would have to think getting back to presence again. It comes right back to that, right? Being present in each moment. So you can have the moments. If you're right there with the ball, with the play, in the moment, that's where the magic can happen, right?
Yes, for sure. And it's all about that. And, you know, how do you handle what's going on right now? So, like, I was at OTAs and mandatory minicamp, and it was just almost like drinking water from a fire hose. And each day it was like, this day finishes, and it's like, okay, I can relax. No, you really can't, because, I can relax hour or two, but then it's like I have to get ready for the next day with what's going on, because, like, if I don't come in there prepared, it's like, okay, he's not studying, he's not taking his job serious. And that could be the impression that you put on the coaches or the GM or anything like that. So it's like you have to
Mm.
come in each and every day like ready for what's going to happen. So it's like I got to get ready for what's about to happen.
Right. And know those plays and know and treat your body well and stay hydrated, eat well, sleep well. I'm sure that's those are challenging things when maybe nerves are up a little bit. And you're a human being. I'm sure the nerves are there every once in a while.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And when you have the expectations of yourself to do really well, how do you keep the balance of still having joy in your life?
You kind of almost look back and, say, hey, I made it this far. Like, this is what I've always wanted to do. And you kind of got to remind yourself that it's like, this is what I've trained for. This is what I've been waiting on my entire life. And I'm here. It's like, you got to continue to keep having fun. But it also goes with, some of the relationships that you build along this way, and the relationships that you build in the locker room. That kind of helps you. It reminds you that, at the end of the day, it's just a game. You're still having fun. But on top of that, you got to know, like, that's what's paying the bills. So you got to keep in mind that you do have to be prepared in what you're going to be doing.
What are you most excited about in this next chapter of your career?
Pretty much excited to just be back for camp, and, see what I can do when I get some reps on the field, and some game time reps in the preseason. I mean, I'm excited to see that and see how fast the game actually moves, and just excited to have this opportunity, and be able to try to make a team.
When you imagine the best possible version of your life, what does that look like in your future?
Best possible version. One, trying to be the best football player I can be. Two, trying to be the best version of myself I can be, still connected with God and my family, try to stay connected with them and catch up, whether it's, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, sisters, try to stay connected with them and then, eventually try to start a family. I feel like at some point soon, I don't know when, but, I want to start a family for sure.
That's beautiful. Um, what would you say to someone out there? It could be a young kid. It could be one of our listeners who knows nothing about football, who has struggled, who has had setback, who is questioning their own futures. What would you say to encourage them?
Surround yourself with the right people. Surround yourself with your support system, whether that's, family members, friends, coaches, anything like that. Whoever you think that, can support you the best in that aspect of it, whether it's, emotional support or anything like that. And then two, you have to stay in touch with God, your spiritual self, and you have to tend to that as much as your social life and your work life as well.
How do you, last question, choose your happy? This show is I Choose Happy. And I do believe that there's a lot of choice. That doesn't mean we're happy all the time and it's sort of this trite thing that we're just striving for happiness all the time. Obviously that's not real life. But there are choices we make that bring more joy to our lives. How do you choose your happy these days?
How do I choose my happy is probably what I can do to affect other people, whether it's in the locker room, whether it's, going back to Longview to help younger kids in high school, middle school, elementary, helping out at a camp, whatever I can do to affect people, because at the end of the day, like when you get to this level and you go back to your hometown or your high school or anything like that, then you start to realize how many eyes are actually on you, how many people that you can affect. And so that's probably one of them. And the other one is self happy. Like you have to make yourself happy as well. But I would probably say, playing any type of sports, competing, that's pretty fun all the time. And then I'm also a outdoors person, whether it's hunting or fishing.
So staying connected, out in nature, doing the things that you love and being in service to others. It sounds like a really good formula.
Yes, ma'am.
And very last question. Sorry, I lied. What would you say now to that younger self who is just taken off the field with that broken ankle? With all the wisdom you have, the experience, the knowing, what would you say to that young guy?
Believe and trust in the Lord, and what happened in your life that it's going to bring you to a different scenario and place, and just keep working and surrounding yourself with the right people and continue to be true and genuine in affecting others.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Haynes, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share that didn't come up today, or do you feel pretty complete?
I mean, I feel pretty complete. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Thank you for giving me this opportunity and to come on this podcast. I definitely had a really good time, and just expressing all that's happened in my life. It's pretty special as well.
And don't you think? And okay, here's the really last question. I always find that it does get back to gratitude too. Do you find that just feeling grateful for all the experiences is that peace too in your life that makes you feel fulfilled or at peace?
I think so. And that kind of, you can always kind of twist stuff like that where it's like, I would rather try to prove the people that believed in me right rather than prove people that didn't believe in me wrong. And by doing that, you always kind of stay connected and you're always grateful for, what's all transpired.
And that was Haynes King, with an incredible reminder that success isn't always about having the perfect path or even knowing exactly where that path is going to lead. Haynes' journey has already taken him through championship wins, injuries, uncertainty, new beginnings, and now all the way to the NFL. But what stands out most is the mindset he's carried with him through all of it. Stay present, trust the work you put in, lean on the people who believed in you, and remember that no matter what happens, you still get to choose how you respond. And I think there's something in that for all of us. If you have loved this conversation, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and come join us in the I Choose Happy Facebook group where we can keep the conversation going and share the ways we're choosing happy in our own lives. Thank you so very much for watching I Choose Happy with Marilyn, presented by The Comfy. I'll see you next week.